Have you ever been mistaken for your dad's escort at Thanksgiving dinner? I hadn't seen my father in 3 years when he invited me to Thanksgiving at his new penthouse. After the divorce, he'd thrown himself into his tech company, becoming the millionaire he'd always dreamed of being. Meanwhile, I'd been working as a cocktail waitress, trying to pay off nursing school debt. Dress nice, he texted. Important people will be there. I arrived in my only designer dress, a black Versace knockoff I'd bought at a consignment shop. Dad answered the door in a tux, kissing my cheek stiffly. Behind him stood a woman my age in diamonds that could pay my rent for a year. This is Brittany, he said, my girlfriend. She looked me up and down with barely concealed disdain. Oh, you brought someone too? How modern. Before I could correct her, Dad steered me toward the living room full of his business partners. I recognized some faces from newspaper profiles. Venture capitalists, tech moguls, their perfectly preserved wives. Everyone, this is Arya, Dad announced, then immediately got pulled away by his CFO. Brittany's friend, dripping in pearls, leaned over. How long have you been with Mr. Reeves? 24 years, I said, confused. Since birth, actually. She laughed. Oh, honey, you don't have to keep up the act here. We all know how these arrangements work. That's when I realized they thought I was his paid companion. My own father's colleagues assumed I was an escort. I opened my mouth to correct them when another woman touched my arm. Between us girls, she whispered. What's your hourly? My husband's friend is looking for someone discreet. I excused myself to find Dad, but he was deep in conversation about quarterly projections. Brittany intercepted me by the kitchen. Look, she said coldly. I don't care what arrangement you had before, but he's with me now. There's no room for both of us. Arrangement? I sputtered. I'm his. Save it. I know your type. Young, desperate, willing to do anything for money. She looked at my knockoff dress with satisfaction. At least I have class. The turkey timer went off, and Dad called everyone to dinner. He'd placed me at the far end of the table, away from him and Brittany. The place card just said guest. During appetizers, the conversation turned to children. Dad's partner asked if he had kids. No, thank God, Dad laughed. Can you imagine? I'd have to deal with college tuition and wedding costs. I dropped my fork. Everyone turned to stare. You okay, sweetheart? The woman beside me asked, in that condescending tone reserved for service workers. That's when I stood up, wine glass in hand. I'd like to make a toast. Dad's face went white. Arya, that's not necessary. To Mr. Reeves, I continued, voice steady, who's such a successful businessman that his own colleagues think his daughter is a prostitute. Gasps rippled through the room. Brittany's champagne glass slipped from her hand, shattering on the marble floor. Daughter? Someone whispered. I pulled out my phone, swiping to a photo from my nursing school graduation, the one Dad hadn't attended. That's me getting my BSN alone because quarterly reports were more important. Dad stood up, face red. Arya, you're making a scene. No, Dad, your friends made the scene when they asked for my hourly rate. I looked at Brittany. By the way, I'm not competition. I'm the daughter he pretends doesn't exist because I'm not profitable enough. The CFO's wife covered her mouth. Oh my God, you're the one from the divorce documents, the daughter he fought to not pay support for. I hadn't known that detail. The room felt smaller suddenly. That's enough, Dad said quietly, dangerously. You're right, I agreed. It is enough. I grabbed my coat and headed for the door. Behind me, I heard Brittany's shrill voice. You said you didn't have children. I don't, he replied. Not anymore. Those words followed me into the elevator, down 30 floors, out into the November cold. My phone buzzed with his text. Your behavior was unacceptable. Don't contact me again. I deleted his number while walking to the subway. On the train, an elderly woman noticed me crying and offered me tissues. Family troubles? She asked gently. No, I said, finally meaning it. Just took out the trash. She patted my hand. Good for you, dear. That night, I got a LinkedIn message from the CFO's wife. She ran a medical nonprofit and wanted to offer me a position. Anyone who stands up like that has the backbone healthcare needs, she wrote. I started the job next month. The salary covers my loans and then some. Dad's company went under 6 months later. Turns out Brittany had been embezzling. He never reached out and I never looked back.